I'm Zion, like lion with a Z, and let's start with the facts. So I'm 28 years old. I grew up in a big family. I have 4 brothers. My dad's been a pastor since I was a kid, and I accepted him as my God when I was in 3rd grade, but I didn't really get to understand that relationship until I was in high school, which definitely took a turn when I was hit by a car. So just about every day, me and my brother would go on bike rides. We're in the same route every single day. We didn't even use hands. Like, I was so cool, I could ride a bike with my knees. One day, we went a different way home. I couldn't tell you why, but we just decided to go a different way. The last thing I remember was car lights coming up behind us, and I remember yelling at him to get over and get in front of me. And then a month later, I woke up in the hospital. When I got hit, I was hit so hard his bumper fell off, and I kind of cracked his windshield, which is pretty cool. The firefighters that showed up, I personally knew. The chief, I used to babysit his kids, and there was so much damage that he didn't recognize me. When the fire chief saw my brother, he recognized him and asked him why he was there. And when he explained to him that it was me, the whole story changed. By the time my parents got there, my mom was trying to get in the ambulance with me. She said that she was trying to get in there, but they wouldn't let her because she would get in the way. I was then med-flighted to Memorial Hospital. I needed to get 7 bags of blood transfusions because that's how much damage there was. I had to have 2 brain surgeries to remove hematomas from both sides of my brain. My left tibia was broken in 4 places. I now have an 18-inch rod and 6 screws, so that's cool. Also, with my brain injury, I have a metal plate and 6 screws up there too. No, it does not go off in the airports. People ask me that all the time. And I actually had to miss most of my senior year, which is rough. Isn't that supposed to be some big thing that you're supposed to enjoy? Well, I learned how to walk and how to eat food again and how to socialize. It was all new. My body literally reset itself. I had to learn everything again. I can remember trying to barter with God. If I do this, help me walk, remind me to walk. I know I can do it. I had the memory of doing it, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. I didn't understand things. I just couldn't process things as quickly. It just didn't make sense. I had to look to my parents for help a lot. And as silly as this is, I almost felt bad that they had to put their life on hold to take care of me. Like, how lucky am I that I have a family that would bend over backwards anytime, anywhere. Like, that's love. That's God showing up in my life. The doctors couldn't explain exactly how I'm still here. They couldn't understand how I was making it through the surgeries in the first place. He asked me how I walked in, and I was like, 1 foot in front of another. Like, what kind of question is that? I learned how to walk. It took me a long time, but I figured it out. And he said, I was just looking at your file, and it is almost an inch thick of paper. And I was like, okay, like, what is that supposed to mean to me? He said, you should not be able to walk, to talk, to feed yourself. He said he couldn't explain it. He said he didn't know how I was able to do all of these things by myself. Granted, I was never by myself. Some of my favorite God moments were the Jell-O cups. When I was in rehab in Indy and I had to have surgery, they wouldn't let you eat anything for 12 hours before your surgery. But I made friends with my nurses, and one of them would sneak me Jell-O cups. And it sounds silly, but I looked forward to those Jell-O cups so much. Because I knew that I felt special. They remembered something small. One of my church moms told me a story that gave me so much hope. By the time I came out of my first surgery there was my whole church family. The main church family was already in the waiting room. And the doctor had to take my parents to another area to talk to them because there were too many people there. This happened at 10:30 in the middle of the night, and my people showed up. My brother was out in Colorado, but one of the families flew him home just because of what happened. Another family bought a hotel room and paid for all of it for them to live across the hospital for me. Things got better when I got home, don't get me wrong, because I was in the hospital. But my injuries left me very angry. So I had a stomach tube in because I was unable to eat. And before my accident, I was a belly sleeper, which made it very difficult to sleep. So I would have to kind of move around. I would have to move around a lot to get comfortable enough so that the tube in my belly isn't poking farther into my stomach, which was cool. But there were just little things that I would pray about. And in the midst of it, I didn't realize I was praying. I was just talking. I was just sometimes yelling. But I knew he was listening. I knew he was there because he's shown up time and time again. That is my story of him staying with me. Hope is the belief that you can make it. It's the belief that you can do this. After this happened, I'm sure you can imagine how much stress my family was under. My mom's thing was always to go on runs. And so the day after, she went on a run in our neighborhood, just like normal, nothing out of the ordinary. And as she's going down a hill, she sees a deer come out. She said she could have gotten close enough to touch it. And she said she felt God speak to her and say, just like these trees keep these deer safe, I'm keeping Zion safe until she's ready to come out. I was ready then, who wants to be in a hospital? But it wasn't my time. I didn't want to accept that. When I was in the hospital, I didn't want to hear, oh, it's not my time. I can make it my time. I can make this happen. I'm a very bull-headed woman. But I had to learn how to accept that. That wasn't something easy. That wasn't something you could just be like, oh yeah, he's got me. Obviously, after all of the trials I have gone through, you would think it'd be easy for me to trust him. But at the same time, you're fighting the doubt that slips through of all of the destruction you've gone through. Struggle is real. It's everywhere. In the little things, the big things. But we have to look for those moments that give us joy. It gets better. Don't get me wrong. I've heard that plenty of times. I didn't want to hear it, but it does. I didn't know what I did to deserve this. Why did I get dealt this hand? I was innocent. I was just riding my bike. What did I do that was so wrong that I deserve this? But along the way, I kind of felt like he was using me as a light, because my story is a story of hope. And that's what the most important part is.